It's pretty bad. It was a dire weekend if you are a Ohio State Buckeye fan. So that wasn't good for us this weekend. But we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was just something about a Buckeye weekend. So the Cleveland Cavaliers opened up the weekend against they opened up the weekend against the Milwaukee Bucks Friday night, which was a loss. Then Ohio State Buckeyes played Michigan, which was a loss. Then Cleveland Browns played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was actually a win. So and then after that, the Cleveland Cavaliers played the Detroit Pistons, so that was a win. So the Cavaliers and the Cleveland Browns actually saved the weekend for us, which is shockingly and surprisingly. But I'm glad that happened. And I got my girl Brandy Fairfax with me. Brandy, what's up with you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing really well. How was your weekend and how was your holiday?
My holiday was pretty good, just chilled with the family, ate some good food, but the weekend wasn't too bad. I wish, the Bucks got the win, but other than that, it was pretty good.
Yeah, did you find your weekend to be way too short?
Yes, always.
Yeah, I know. I wish the holiday weekend wasn't, as short as it is. Time flies by. I'm like, I definitely should have taken a few more days off to get myself back in the rhythm, get myself back to go. But I don't know if you heard the part where I was just announcing everything that had to do with Bucks this weekend, which the Cavs started off playing the Milwaukee Bucks, then the Buckeyes took on Michigan, then the Cleveland Browns played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then after that the Cavs played Detroit. So it was a kind of a Buck weekend, which is just, I don't know how it got planned to be that way, but it's just kind of weird how that all transpired. So Brandy, it is a Victory Monday, and I don't know if you heard me, but I said this was the first Victory Monday that we've had this season, since the first Victory Monday that we had, the first game of the season against the Carolina Panthers. So this is the first Victory Monday since. How does that feel to you?
Yeah, that's crazy. It's definitely been a while that we've had a victory Monday, and I'm excited, and it's definitely a good win that they needed, and for it to be against Tom Brady is also good.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into the Cleveland Browns commentary right now. What were your overall thoughts about this game?
I thought coming into this game, I thought it could go either way. The Browns could either win this game from Tampa or they could lose. But, I think, they did play overall well. The offense did play decent. The receivers did have some drop balls that were crucial, just like they did last week. So things like that do need to be tightened up. But it was Jacoby's last game. And, overall, him playing this season, he did play pretty well, better than what people expected. For his 11 games starting with the Browns, he did finish seventh now ranked as a QB. So he did play pretty well this season.
Yeah. Do you think that they wanted to do something special with how emotional do you think this game was for that team? It's not like Jacoby Brissett was gonna die or anything like that, and that's what he told the press afterwards in a press conference. But how much emotion you think went into this game for this team, knowing that it was going to be his last start? Maybe not as a Cleveland Brown, because barring injury or anything like that, we pray to God that Deshaun never starts again. But knowing that you have a competent, capable, serviceable backup. What do you think the thoughts were of these players going into this, final start in air quotations for Jacoby Brissett?
Yeah, myself, I didn't look at it as any different, but seeing how the players were throughout the game, Jacoby really held his own throughout the time that he was starting. And I know the record doesn't show it with the Browns, but he did play better than the record is showing. And I saw videos, at the end of the game, all of them hugging him, and just you see all the support and how much they did love him, and still do, and loved the time that he was a starter.
Yeah, I agree. The record doesn't reflect, a lot of it, his defense has let him down, and there were games in which they should have won these games. So unfortunately, it just is what it is. They suffered the two blowouts, but these games were very close, and these games could have won either way on their behalf. So, it's been a long season. I think that, there was a lot of emotion going into it because, they're warriors. They go out and they fight for each other. They play as a team. So I think that there was a lot of emotion knowing that this is, his last start. But like John Johnson III said, when Deshaun comes, it could be a possible, shot in the arm, and it could be a different spark for the team. And I don't think, he meant that to disrespect Jacoby in any way or anything like that. But I think that he talked about change is coming, and I'm like, I feel as if though Jacoby could have hit a lot of throws that Deshaun Watson could have, or whatever in the game, because the throws are right there. It's just receivers got to make plays and stuff like that. And yesterday, it was almost a perfect throw. David and Joko had to go and get a little high for it, but it was a throw that was right there. And, it's kind of hard at times because with the Cleveland Browns and their history, that's a play that they don't make to win the game.
Yeah, definitely. That catch was insane. I know people are saying that's probably, in the top 3 best catches of the year so far.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a little OBJ-esque or whatever. But, Cleveland Browns, the history shows that that's not a catch that's usually made. This is not a game that, they will win, coming from behind isn't something that they've been able to do. Once they get behind, they stay behind. And we're going through the show rundown. I don't have the exact, stat, but, the Fox was showing a graphic yesterday regarding how many times the Cleveland Browns, they are known as this team that scores on their first series. And then Fox had a graphic talking about how long it takes them to score again. And the average was like over 45 minutes to score again outside of garbage time to be able to score again. And, we've talked about this, all week long leading up into, every time we break down the game about what's going on. We've talked about how this is a team, they come out, their first 15 plays are scripted, they don't do a walkthrough at them, and they excel at them. But it's after those first 15 plays is when the difference is, and they're not able to make adjustments and things like that. What are your thoughts after this victory that they did make some adjustments that was able to keep them in this game?
Yeah, I think, we stuck to the things that worked, like the run game, which, in past games we've run all game with, Nick Chubb. And then once the game is on the line, we stop running with him. But, I think this game we stuck to the things that have worked. And you noticed, I think, coming out of halftime, they stayed contained and they did, I would say, make some more of changes that we're used to seeing coming out of halftime.
Yeah. And yesterday was a very exciting game. You got Tom Brady coming into town. You don't get him that often, and the way that the NFL schedule goes, NFC teams, you face them usually once about every 4 years, depending on the schedule. And so you don't see Tom Brady. You saw him a little bit more in, when he was in the AFC, when he was with the Patriots, but not that often. So, you got Tom Brady coming in here, probably maybe his last time in Cleveland because he's on his last legs. He's 45. And, I'm sure he didn't get divorced from Giselle to lose to the Cleveland Browns and stuff like that. But, this was, probably his last, foray into Cleveland based on the NFL schedule and stuff like that. So you have the best quarterback, in NFL history who's thrown for what they say 57 miles or whatever. He's thrown for over 100,000 yards, I think, which is over 57 miles or what have you, which is a ton when you think about it. But coming into this game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are, they were the division leaders in the AFC South at 5-5, which is like the AFC East, where most of the teams are terrible and can make the playoffs, except for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. But you had Tampa Bay's Buccaneers coming in, which kind of has a mystique to it. But anytime Tom Brady is down, that he can always come back. And you just thought that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to come in here and run rush shop on us and kick our butts. And that's kind of what I thought. I didn't come into this game thinking that the Cleveland Browns were going to win it all. So it was a very exciting game. They were able to keep the store close. They didn't let it get away from them because our our defense once again was struggling to defend the pass, and Chris Godwin was able to have whatever he wanted to against us. So they didn't let it get too far away from them. They let it stay close, and they were able to come back in the end. So yesterday was a very exciting game at Cleveland Browns Stadium. It seemed like it was a long game as well too. Saturday was really long. I don't know if you felt that way, and we're going to get to Ohio State in a minute, but that was a really long game. I felt like because each quarter was almost taking an hour. So that was really shocking and surprising. But yesterday, it was a super exciting game. I'm sad. I'm not sad, but I'm happy for those fans who were there. They finally got a victory. They, even though in Tom Brady, one stat that they said going into overtime, he's never had a tie on his record. So, if the Cleveland Browns hadn't been able to score in that overtime, Tom Brady would have had a tie on his record in over 20 years of playing. So that was a kind of a crazy stat to me that he's never had a tie or anything like that. But, yesterday was a great game, and, them being able to come from behind, this team still has a lot of fight in there, is what they're saying. Amari Cooper and I forgot who else. Oh, David Njoku, said that we're not done. We still have a lot of fight in us. We're going to fight to the very end. And maybe, when Deshaun Watson comes, that's their spark, and that maybe that's something that I don't know why they wouldn't fight to the very end with Jacoby, but maybe that's something that they'll do with Deshaun Watson is fight to the very end. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think the rest of the team, they do love both of them as quarterbacks. So I think, they did love the stint that they had with Jacoby, but I think, maybe Deshaun coming back is the spark that is needed, and maybe it'll also give the defense the spark to play better. They did play, pretty well against Mike Evans as well yesterday, especially, Martine Emerson, rookie. He was 0-7 against Mike Evans yesterday, which that was pretty good. Mike Evans been one of the top receivers in the league the past 2 years. But also now to keep a lookout, AJ Green, he's in concussion protocol, which, is somewhat of a worry with Greg Newsome being out. He was the one playing in the slot.
Yeah, I'm like concussion protocol again. Martin Emerson, he had a great game against Cincinnati as well, and he was able to contain their receivers. So I like the growth that he's going through because Mike Evans wasn't able to do too much damage, but they were able to contain Chris Godwin. They didn't let him go off for nothing deep or anything like that. But he was pretty reliable for Tom Brady. Picking up those yardage situations, third down, and things like that. He pretty much was there for Tom Brady all day, getting whatever he wanted. So, I guess that's part of playing a bend but don't break defense a little bit. And that's how they wanted to take that approach. We let him get whatever he wants, but not, the big plays. And, Jacoby kind of, was a beneficiary of a lot of drops yesterday. So that didn't help out anything. And, throughout the course of, him starting for the Cleveland Browns, that's something that has played the Cleveland Browns as well. And that's drop balls. So, those are some of the reasons, not only, about defense, not winning, struggling to keep us in games, but also, receivers dropping the ball. For the most part, they've been pretty good. But, Amari Cooper yesterday, he had that wide open, ball that he completely dropped, but he made up for it, on the big 42-yard pass play, but he better have made up for it because his defender, fell down. And I think part of the field that had been turfed up, I don't know, but the defender had fell down, and he was able to, have a big completion for that to, which makes everybody forget about the drop ball. How about that field? How about it looked terrible and there was nothing that they was able to do?
I know. I was thinking that the whole time watching the game, you could see it so clear on the field of how it was so messed up. And then also there was a skunk inside the stadium during the game. So it was crazy in Cleveland this weekend.
Yeah, I guess they call it the rally skunk because remember we had the rally possum when Baker had, brought the team back and they beat the New York Jets. So they was calling it the rally possum. I'm like, how did they get that skunk out there? Because people was chasing it with the camera and stuff. Like, I'm not about to be around chasing no doggone skunk. Like, what's up with that?
Right. Like, you guys are about to get sprayed. I would
Right, exactly. And it ain't gonna be pretty. You're gonna be stinking and all that other stuff. And who wants to walk around the doggone stadium smelling like skunk spray? So yeah, that was a little crazy. But Brandy, we up against it. We're gonna take our first break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Are you and your family a part of the 14 million low-income households who do not have internet access? Well, connect to opportunity with Digital Navigators by taking advantage of their Affordable Connectivity Program. The Affordable Connectivity Program can have your internet bill as low as $0 each and every month. Hold up, wait a minute. After signing up. The ACP provides $30 off home internet bills and can also help you find the perfect internet plan for your household.
Hey, that's pretty good.
The Digital Navigators not only provide a monthly discount on your monthly internet bill, but can also help you find free, low-cost, or refurbished devices. They offer tech support.
The button on the side, is it glowing?
And even referrals to digital literacy programs, job trainings, and online education options. Head over to digitalus.org to get started or call 216-307-6990. There is a great inequality that exists in our modern world, digital exclusion. And the Digital Navigators are here to help guide you to the age of accessibility. This message is brought to you by Digital Navigator and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, a Burton Belcar community radio station.
Are you struggling with a legal issue that impacts your basic needs, such as housing, safety, or finances? The Legal Aid Society of Cleveland may be able to help. They offer free legal services to people facing eviction, landlord disputes, debt problems, and more. Visit Legal Aid's website at www.lasclev.org to apply for help or call 216-687-1900.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. Remember, you can keep it locked on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM. Remember, you can download the WOVU app and you can take us with you on the go. You can also listen online at WOVU.org. And you can also reach out to the station at any time on 216-271-0959. And I am here with Brandy Fairfax today, and we are breaking down the Cleveland Browns win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, who came into town, and the Cleveland Browns were able to get a win. So right now the Cleveland Browns are 4-7 now?
Yep.
And there, the graphic did come on that said they were still in the hunt. Is this team still in the hunt to you?
I mean, at this point, they could be with how the division looks as well. I guess we'll see. And, I guess it just all depends on how, they play these last few games and with Deshaun coming back.
Yeah, pretty much they have to win all 6 games from here on out. So, I guess they can say, you could look at the math and be like, they're eliminated, but, David Njoku says that they still got a shot, they still got a chance, and maybe they feel like, when Deshaun Watson comes back, maybe he can make the throws that Jacoby Brissett couldn't make. But I felt like Jacoby Brissett could make all the throws. I don't feel like Jacoby Brissett was too terrible. I know DJ Chris Styles had posted on Facebook that Jacoby was 4-7, but it wasn't a bad 4-7. It wasn't like it was 4-7 because Jacoby had been terrible. There was a combination of different things. Offense overall not playing well. I think, a lot of it was play calling. It was the defense not playing well and things of that nature. So it wasn't just Jacoby Brissett was out here stinking it up. Yes, he did throw, some critical interceptions at some critical times. The Jets game, people are excusing that one, from him because they were like, he should have never been in that situation to begin with. You got to recover the onside kick. And that was something that the Cleveland Browns didn't do. So he got put in a situation in which the game should have been won. Against Atlanta, that's a 2-minute drill right there, being able to execute. And, he struggled and threw a critical interception right there in the comeback. So yeah, you can blame those, but for the most part, he's kind of played mistake-free football. He's made the throws. It's just, we haven't did what we needed to do offensively. So you can't blame him for them being 4-7. There's a combination of other things, but he's kind of been, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, quite honestly, or kind of like, in the middle tier of quarterbacks for quarterback in the league. So I think that's a great thing to say for him, so it hasn't been terrible. But, when Deshaun Watson comes in, people I talk to that are at practice, says that there's just a difference, but Jacoby Brissett wasn't that terrible. And I, said that he was a bad quarterback without seeing him play, but, seeing him play, over these past games, these past 11 games, he hasn't been terrible. Do you think people have been too hard on Jacoby?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Like I mentioned earlier, he's ranked 7th in at QB with the games he's played so far. And to be a backup and ranked 7th, I think is pretty well. I mean, you can't really name any other backups who could come in and do what he did and how well he did play. And, the 4-7 record doesn't show it. And there was about 5 games that the Browns have lost this season that were only in one possession. So, there also were mistakes on the defense, but all 7 losses definitely weren't on Jacoby, but I think he did play pretty well.
Yeah, because what was our blowout losses? The loss to Miami was a blowout loss.
The Miami game, and then Patriots lost 15-38.
Okay. Yeah. So those are only 2. So we didn't get blown out by Buffalo or anything like that. Yeah. So I look at it as a pretty successful tenure. So, hats off to Jacoby. He did a great job. They said, he has a lot of respect in that locker room, and the players love him. And, Deshaun Watson said that Jacoby has even been helpful for him. So, Deshaun Watson was active today, I believe, as of 12 o'clock. He was active.
Yep.
And then Joshua Dobbs was waived. So they said that Josh possibly could come back with the practice squad because the team usually carries 3 quarterbacks or whatever. But in order to make room for Deshaun Watson roster spot, they had to waive somebody. So Joshua Dobbs could pretty much, come back that way on the practice squad. So I would say that Cleveland, for once, Cleveland quarterback situation looks bright, and that was a position that was destabilized for a long time. But it looks like they're in great hands right now with the quarterbacks, and you have a fully capable quarterback back there for you. So if anything happens to Deshaun Watson, knock on wood, nothing ever does, you have Jacoby Brissett, where, unfortunately they weren't able to get a ton of wins, due to different extenuating circumstances, but they were able to get wins, and it could have been a lot better had, some plays have been made. So what did you think about the offense yesterday overall? They didn't score a ton of points, but they were able to get the job done.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely were able to get the job done. Like you said earlier, the one drop that Coop had, he should have definitely made that catch, and, he knew it. He just sat, squatting down on the ground for a minute. And, like you said, he was able to come back and make that big play after. I'm still, wanting Kareem to be more involved, but I guess, that just is what it is. But I think overall the offense did play well, but I think, looking a couple weeks ahead, once we play the Bengals and Ravens, they're going to have to be able to put up more points.
Yeah, and speaking about Kareem Hunt, yesterday they had 189 yards rushing compared to the 96 yards rushing for Tampa Bay, and usually that's where the Cleveland Browns struggle to defend the run. So yesterday they were able to contain the run a little bit. So I guess you can say that's how you win games. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had 229 yards passing, and the Cleveland Browns had 178. But it's Tom Brady. He is going to get his, and that's just the way that it's going to be. So that's a critical stat right there, is that the defense was able to, clamp down on the rushing, which is something that has beaten them. But, time of possession, also, they held the ball 9 minutes longer than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it was like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were more efficient when they had the ball, a little, it seems like, compared to the Cleveland Browns. So, one of the things that I want on special teams to talk about was Kate York's field goal yesterday, the 39-yarder. So a lot of people are blaming Corey Borges for that. They were saying that when he was in Green Bay, there was a lot of kicks missed because of how he held the ball. Do you think that there's any validity to why Kate York might struggle? And that 39-yarder was just completely hooked very badly. But do you think that could have something to do with Corey Bojorquez as a holder?
I never thought about that, and I haven't seen any of that so far. But yeah, I think the Browns coming in, they drafted him for a reason, and they spoke so high of him and how well he was going to be able to perform. And we haven't seen that totally this season so far. We have seen him miss some kicks, and I know when they said it was 39 yards yesterday, I was like, okay, I think he's got this one, but it didn't turn out that way. So maybe that could be playing effect into why he's missing some of these kicks.
Yeah, because you make the field goal, you don't go into overtime, you win the game. So, that turned out to be something that, is inconsequential, right now. But, had the game went the other way, you would say that this is one of the reasons why we lost the game. Because of missing that field goal. So, the blame can be taken off of K York and he could be a little relieved. And like I said, Amari Cooper missing that wide open ball, having that drop, I think was a lack of concentration, and thinking run before catch, which we all, have a tendency to do. I don't know if you were an athlete, but I was an athlete as well. And I used to play lacrosse. And, sometimes when you miss balls, you thinking about running before you even had a ball in your possession. So, I've been a victim of that before at times, but, I think that that's part of what was going on. But yeah, like a lot of people were blaming Corey Bojorquez for his holding and stuff like that. It was funny because Hayden Grove of Cleveland.com, had mentioned it. And then Jay Feely, who used to be a field goal kicker with a few teams, actually weighed in on that and said that it could, be Corey Bojorquez, how he's holding the ball and stuff like that. So that's something that, has to be worked on a little bit later down the line. How do you think our defense did? Do you think that they're hitting a turning point and that they could possibly play better because they were able to, hold, they were able to not allow so many rushing yards. And, like I said, unfortunately, in the passing situation, you're missing Greg Newsome and stuff like that. But they were able to hold in the running game, which would have been a terrible. We've been terrible in the running game. So they were able to, contain the Tampa Bay rushing attack. What are your thoughts about how defense played?
Yeah, I thought, they played pretty well. And, sometimes it is hard to get to Tom Brady in the pocket and be able to sack him. But, they were able to get to him 3 times, I believe. So that was good. Like you said, they were able to keep that rushing down. They did contain them pretty well. They also were missing Leonard Fournette. So I would have liked to, see how the Browns would be able to play against him if he was able to play and if he was healthy the other day.
I don't know if I wanted to see that, Brandy. I don't know.
The numbers might have been completely different if Leonard.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that could have been a problem. So I'm kind of glad that Leonard Fournette was not able to go. I wish him well. I hope he's okay and stuff like that. But I don't think I would wanted to see that. And I forgot that they were missing him yesterday for their rushing attack. So it could have been a lot different. But go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. But other than that, I think they played pretty well, especially the safeties in the corners. I think we saw them play better, compared to earlier this season. There wasn't, much miscommunication. We saw them on the receivers at all times. Sometimes still in man-to-man coverage, they're getting a little bit lost. But other than that, I think it looked better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that man, they just couldn't stop Chris Godwin. Like I said, they let him get whatever he want, but they didn't let him get the big play or anything like that. So yeah, and Myles Garrett was able to get to Tom Brady. He said he was looking for sacks, 2 and 3, but he was able to get 2 or whatever. But Tom Brady is not a runner. Obviously, he's the pocket passer, so you will be able to get to him if the protection breaks down. And they were able to get a crucial sack on him when it counted, and I believe that was in the overtime. time or whatever when he was able to grab his foot, and Tom Brady tried to escape out of that, but he couldn't. So they were able to get some sacks at some critical times. But Tom Brady came in being Tom Brady, and gave his team an opportunity and a chance. And I thought that with the way the weekend had went, I thought that Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to win that game. I had no hope for the Cleveland Browns winning that game at all, and I feel bad saying that, but it just is what it is. And just how they continuously let us down, I didn't think that the Browns were going to win that game. So I'm really happy that they were able to come back and win that game and be the better team that day, even though they didn't really play like it.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with Tom Brady, I was worried because you have to play every second of the game. You can't give him a minute left, 40 seconds. He's able to work with that. So coming in, I was worried just because we've seen, the Browns aren't able to finish the full game, but they were able to.
Yeah, so I'm kind of excited about that. And up next, who we have next? I can't remember.
The Texans,
Oh,
Deshaun.
yes, that's right. You would think I would remember that, considering how big it's going to be. But yeah, they go on the road because I think they got 2 on the road and then 2 at home. And
Yeah, so we'll play Texans and Bengals away, then the Ravens and Saints are at home, then Commanders and Steelers away to finish the season.
Okay, yeah, so 2-2-2. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting, and it's gonna be down to the wire. And now we can really see what this team is about, what Deshaun Watson is about, and what this organization is about, because their backs are going to be against the wall to make the playoffs. But they got to get it together. If anything, defense has to turn around. And yesterday, it showed progress. So if they can continue to move forward from there, you might have an opportunity. If the defense comes together, and like I said, they don't allow the big play to happen. They kept Chris Godwin in check, where bend but don't break. They pretty much let him get whatever he wanted, but they avoided having the big play happen, which has been burning them for the past few games. So I like it, and we'll see what happens. But we're going to take another break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM, and we'll be right back.
Cleveland residents pay less for internet service every month thanks to the Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP. This program provides monthly assistance for your internet plan so you can stay connected to work, school, healthcare, and more. To learn more about ACP and to get help signing up, call the Digital Navigators at 216-307-6990.
This message is brought to you by WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
Next through, touchdown Cleveland. The Browns win. You already know what it is. Yo, listen, every time the Cleveland Browns win, Make Them Know Your Name Foundation will donate an AED to a community organization. Denzel Ward, Nicole Ward, and Make Them Know Your Name Foundation, they are donating an AED, automated external defibrillators, to WOVU 95.9 FM, allowing us to service our community. Automated external defibrillator is a medical device designed to analyze the heart rhythm and deliver an electric shock to victims of sudden cardiac arrest to restore the heart rhythm to normal. WOVU 95.9 FM would like to thank Denzel Ward, Nicole Ward, Make Them Know Your Name Foundation, and the Cleveland Browns for choosing us to help better serve our community. This message is brought to you by Make Them Know Your Name Foundation and WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I'm here with Miss Brandy Fairfax. Brandy, do you have a radio moniker?
I do not.
You gonna get one, or you just want to go by Brandy Fairfax?
I don't know. I've always thought about it, but I just don't know what I want to do.
Nothing wrong with that. You can just say Brandy Fairfax. That's fair too. But this is the moment that I didn't want to get into. but we're gonna have to. I'm trying not to be depressed right now. Let me ask you this, because Chris asked me this as soon as I came through the door. DJ Chris Styles asked me this. Are you on the? Are you where are you at as far as the fire Ryan Day movement?
Whew, I knew that was about to be the question. It's so hard because, up until this point, people looked at Ohio State and thought they were perfect. They were one of the best teams in the nation. But I think, looking at how we've played against Michigan the past 2 years, especially this past game, it did look like they were just lacking some discipline. And I don't know if a head coaching change is going to, be what the change is going to be to, get them into playoffs and, get to a championship. But I think Ryan Day has been a good coach. I don't see right now necessarily to me firing him.
He's 45-5. And I'm like, fire him and fire everybody, fire the whole staff. That's where I'm at right now. Fire everybody. I don't care. My friend said I need a hug right now. I said, forget a hug, fire everybody. Social media there were so many mixed reactions or whatever. I said fire everybody. They brought in, what's the defensive coordinator's name? Is it Jim Knowles? They brought him in to shore up the defense, and the defense got exposed. So I'm like, and they're paying him $2 million a year. So he might be the second highest paid public employee of the state of Ohio, because Ryan Day Ohio State is a public university and those salaries are public. So Ryan Day is the highest paid public employee in the state of Ohio. And Jim Knowles probably might be second at a salary of $2 million a year. And it did not fix the problems that we had up front against Michigan last year, how we pretty much were just bullied and outplayed and out hustled, outworked, and things of that nature. So, it's crazy that one of the things that was said was JJ McCarthy couldn't throw the deep ball. Looked like he could throw the deep ball to me without a problem on Saturday. So they were saying that was one of the things that plagued him. Looks like he had no problem with that on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. He was definitely throwing it downfield, and they were perfect throws to me.
Yeah, I know one corner bit on that cutback that the one receiver had from Michigan. I can't remember the names right now because I've tried to block it out in my memory. And he was just off to the races and he was just free. And, JJ McCarthy could throw the deep ball because that's what, that's what transpired and that's what opened up. He was able to throw his receivers open. And it was just kind of crazy because me and Chris Styles were talking about the game going into, Saturday. We talked about it on Tuesday. And I said, I think Ohio State will win, but I think it's going to be a very close win. And, on Saturday morning, I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Everybody knows I sleep in on the weekends until it's time for the game. And Brandy, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I just had this terrible feeling about this game and I was just sick with it. And I just, I thought Ohio State was going to win, but like I said, I thought it was going to be a close game, based on how well Michigan has played throughout the year, how well Ohio State has played throughout the year. I'm like, you still have a lot of young, players in this rivalry. CJ Stroud is young, they were able to get to him last year. And I'm just like, I just didn't have a good feeling about this game when I woke up at 5 a.m. I went back to sleep. I woke up at 9 o'clock for, and this is something I don't do, but I woke up at 9 o'clock to watch game day coverage. I think I was looking for coverage on ESPN Game Day because I knew somebody said that there was going to be coverage at 9. The night before, I watched like a 35-minute video like of all the best plays against Michigan since 1956 or something like that on YouTube. So I was ready to go for the game, Brandy. I was excited. I was juiced up. You would have thought I was playing with the way I couldn't sleep. And it just turned out to be a total nightmare for Ohio State fans. And it's just like, Ohio State outgained them and with 23 first downs to Michigan 16. We got outrushed though, 252 yards to 143 of Ohio State's. And Michigan didn't even have their Blake Cromer or whatever his name is. They didn't even have their best running back playing. So I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Um, we had 9 penalties for 91 yards. And Michigan had 5 penalties for 30 yards. And we didn't dominate the time of possession, but we had the ball for 31 minutes and 46 seconds, and Michigan had the ball for 28 minutes and 14 seconds. But when they had the ball, they were efficient when it counted. And one thing is CJ Stroud threw the ball 48 times. When's the last time you seen something like that? Like when Dwayne Haskins threw the ball 70 times against Purdue, which was kind of crazy. You never really seen anything like that before. But CJ Stroud, was all about passing. He did the plays that were called in, so it was a lot of passing plays and not running plays because Ohio State, had issues with healthy running backs. Travion Henderson didn't play at all, so he threw the ball, but also too, just like Jacoby Brissett, there was a lot of drop balls. Michigan was playing. I don't know if they were necessarily playing perfect coverage because there were some issues in which there should have been some flags thrown, and they weren't. But he was the beneficiary of a lot of drop balls as well. I think the moment was too big for Ohio State. I think that they were playing tight, and I think that a lot of those boys, they claimed they were ready, but I don't think that they were really ready for Michigan. And knowing Michigan, I don't think they were ready for Michigan to come in there and play bully ball once again.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed like, going into this game, they were mad, especially after losing last year, and it seemed like they were ready, but, it just kind of fell apart for them as the game went on. They were down 20-24 going into the fourth quarter, but then, throughout that fourth quarter, it just fell apart as the quarter went on.
Yeah, I got up and stopped watching for a second because that one possession where Michigan had before they went up, like a full touchdown and the full touchdown. I can't remember, but it might have been, was it the third quarter? And I was like, I can't watch this anymore. And I'm like, you know what? I have to watch this. I have to talk about it on Monday. I have to watch this because the game kind of became unwatchable at a certain aspect. And it was just like, okay, you got them pinned back, you got them in a long passage situation, and they would just connect. And it was just like unlike anything you ever seen before. So this is a different Michigan team. They came in there different. They had an excellent game plan. I feel like Ryan Day got out coached. And what about the time when CJ Stroud wanted to go for it on 4th and 6? Do you think Ryan Day made the right decision by being so conservative and sending the punt unit out there when CJ Stroud felt like they could get it on 4th and 6?
I was watching that and I thought that they should have went for it too. The few plays before that, they had the momentum and it was working. So I thought, why not go for it at that point? Especially, CJ felt comfortable enough that he could make the play.
Yeah, but I think Ryan Day didn't believe in his offense at that point anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like I don't know. I'm kind of torn about whether or not they should have went for it as well because 4th and 6, you got a juiced up Michigan team. The way they were playing defense against us. I don't know if we would have been able to get it and then to turn it over in their territory and stuff like that with them having all the momentum and stuff like that. I don't know about it. That definitely would have scared me. So at the end of the day, this is the second year in a row that we've lost to Michigan, which, hasn't happened in a 20-year time span, and we haven't lost to them at Ohio State for 22 years. Well, 21 years now. So that's a huge thing as well. Nobody was expecting that. So at the end of the day, I'm kind of devastated. This is tough. You went to Ohio State, it's just different for us. The average Ohio State fan, they're just kind of like whatever. But when you go to the Ohio State University, it's just different, and you're born in the state of Ohio. It's just a whole different thing for us, and I just was devastated. I was physically sick afterwards. I didn't vomit or anything like that, but I struggled and I just couldn't believe that this was happening. And I was there during the Cooper years. So I experienced that misery. They only beat Michigan one time when I was there during the Cooper years, and my grandmother had passed away that week, and I sold my ticket for $75 to my friend's father. I hopped on the Greyhound and came up for her funeral. So I completely, missed that game. So I missed the only victory that we had, So it's just like this. I was there during the Cooper years, and you could easily see, he was brought up a lot this weekend. And it was funny because John Cooper was at the game. My mentor, Ronnie Duncan, who works with CBS Detroit, had a picture with John Cooper. And I was telling my one friend, well, he might as well have just thrown the headset on and just started coaching, because that's what it was looking like. Like he should have been out there this weekend. So, Ryan Day's seat is hot. If they lose to Michigan a third year in a row in Ann Arbor, he's going to get fired. And I don't think they care what his record is at this point. Ohio State still has an outside shot of making the conference playoffs, but they need a lot of help this weekend. They need TCU to lose. They need USC to lose. And I don't know if it's going to happen. But I don't feel like Ohio State deserves to be in the CFP after the way they lost. Do you?
Yeah, it is tough. And a lot of people have been going back and forth about that because they see the other teams that can be put in the playoff over Ohio State, and they think that, they aren't as strong, and Ohio State is definitely the better team. So I think that is where it is hard because, they are still better than these other teams.
Yeah, and my thing is, it'd be okay if like the game was close, but the game wasn't even close. So I don't, as much as I love my Buckeyes, like I don't want them to lose on a national stage as well. After getting embarrassed against Michigan, I think that they would be okay against TCU and stuff like that. But going up against Georgia, because I'm like, Michigan will probably get boats raced by Georgia once again. But I'm like, I don't know, the way they just bullied us and the way they played against us, I don't know. They always could give Georgia a run for their money. So I'm like, I don't know if they necessarily, would lose that bad. Georgia's pretty good, but they struggled to beat Kentucky the other day. So I'm like, I don't know. Michigan might be able to play a decent game against Georgia, if they make it to the finals of the CFP. But, Ohio State needs a lot of help. But I'm like, I don't feel like we deserve the CFP after getting beat like that. I just don't. Because I don't want to be embarrassed on the national stage, because we already was embarrassed. And Fox said that they had over 17 million people watching the game. I would have thought it would have been more people, but we were just embarrassed. What do you think it says about our brand?
Yeah, especially to end the fourth quarter, they had the 75-yard run for a touchdown, and then they had the 85-yard run. So I think both of those just end of the game was, kind of a punch in the stomach, and it just shows the lack of discipline from the defensive side, and to not already losing, but to then give them 2 more touchdowns after that is just something that you can't do.
Yeah, I'm looking at something right here, and it says the chances of making the playoffs, Ohio State still has a 75% chance. Georgia has a 99.90%, Michigan 99, Ohio State 75, TCU 67.50, USC 50%, Alabama 7.5, and everybody else combined 1%. So that's sports line prediction. So they still can make it, which would be crazy.
It would. I don't know. Just the offense, they've been playing pretty well. It's just the defensive side, obviously, that worries me.
Yeah, and then if Ohio State made it, they probably would be the number 4 seed, so they go up against Georgia. So that would be crazy. But we got to go ahead and take a break really quickly. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We will be right back.
We are offering an exciting opportunity for you to enhance your career by joining the Cleveland Division of Police. My father was a police officer and took great pride in protecting and serving our community. I know you will share that same pride with this rewarding profession. We offer career advancement, great benefits, and job security. Please call 216-623-5233 to speak with our recruiters, or go to governmentjobs.com/careers/Cleveland. I encourage you to apply today.
Winter is approaching fast. The Spot Youth Empowerment Organization is preparing for the annual hat and glove distribution program called Project Warm. From November 1st through January 7th, 2023, the Spot Youth Empowerment Organization will collect hats, gloves, and socks. With the cost of living increasing, many families are struggling financially. Project Warm will provide winter accessories for these families. The Spot Youth Empowerment Organization mission is to assist individuals with knowledge to change their lives through resources, education, training, and empowerment. With the goal of collecting 5,000 items this year, we need your help. WOVU 95.9 FM is an official collection site to drop off hats, gloves, socks, and more for Project Warm. Come down to 7201 Kismet Road, Suite 104, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. For more information, please call 216-323-6049. That's 216-323-6049. This message is brought to you by the Spot Youth Empowerment Organization and WOVU 95.9 FM, a Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I'm here with Miss Brandy Fairfax, and we are talking a little bit about Ohio State versus Michigan. And one of the things that was very critical is that Ohio State had numerous penalties, 9 for 91 yards. That unfortunately, messed up a lot of opportunities. They had some false starts. They had some pass interference, at least 2 pass interference plays that was critical. One would have stopped the Michigan drive, but set them up on the 2. It would have enabled them to just be able to kick a field goal and not let the game get away from Ohio State. But, unfortunately, the ball wasn't even catchable, which was the issue with that penalty. So Ohio State played, you mentioned it before, as a very undisciplined team. And that's not the team that I'm accustomed to. I think Ohio State was playing scared. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely thought that they would come into this game tougher and stronger, especially after losing last year, not wanting to lose again in their own stadium. So I thought they would come into this game stronger than they did.
Yeah. So I'm like, I just couldn't believe it. This was like unlike an Ohio State team, and they just, I think that they were scared, and that was one of the things that they struggled with, because they were getting beat in the trenches, and in football games you win it in the trenches, and they were they were just getting beat down there, offensive line, defensive line, and they just weren't used to that, getting pushed around a little bit. And, I guess you can give hats off to John Harbaugh for, coming in and finally figuring out the Ohio State, and then, you wondered if he was given a little validity when, he insulted Ryan Day last year and said, well, Ryan Day kind of started off during the Big Ten call and said that they were going to hang 100 on Michigan or whatever. So after beating Ohio State last year, Jim Harbaugh said, some people are born on third base and think they hit a triple, which was saying, he was gifted a great team. So, he didn't really do anything or anything like that. And then, was something said after this game? I couldn't remember.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think Jim Harbaugh allowed his coaching to do the talking because Ryan Day was out coached, and pretty much combined that they've hung almost 50 points on Ohio State. So I think that's how Harbaugh is getting his revenge, is that they put up almost 100 points on Ohio State. So he's letting his coaching do the talking. But, it was just a masterful game, and just Jim Harbaugh recognizing, the Ohio State weaknesses and exploiting them. And one was defensive backs and having those long those long passes. So, hats off to him and what he did. And, I think last year, a lot of people were saying that the Michigan win was good for the rivalry, but, 2 wins in a row. I had to have my one friend, Jonathan Wells, who used to play for Ohio State and was part of that team in '98. That not '98, but I think 2000 that beat, or was it '98? No, it wasn't '98. I can't remember what year it was. Yeah, it might have been '98. That only time team that beat Michigan. He had a long run for a touchdown. But I was like, I need you to talk me off the ledge. And he was saying, it was gonna be okay, but that can't be allowed. You can't get rid of Ryan Day. You got to give him a shot. He said, what if you get another coach in there and, y'all lose again and the program becomes like, the dominant programs that used to be that are not good anymore, like the Florida States and the Miami Hurricanes and USCs and stuff like that. You could get a coach in Ohio State experience some down periods where we're not accustomed to that. So I'm like, it's a great point, but Ryan Day is not going to be able to lose to Michigan a third year in a row and be able to keep his job. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely, looking ahead to next year, definitely can't lose against Michigan. And that's something I know no fan wants the third year in a row.
Yeah, man, because I'm like, okay, we went a year. It's been 365 days, since we lost to Michigan. Okay, time to right the ship, put the universe back in order. And now I'm like, I gotta wait another 365 days to play them again, and we possibly might not win. They got me scared. But let's go. Huh?
Oh, I didn't say nothing.
Oh, but I'm scared at this point. We going to Ann Arbor. I'm like, I should try to get tickets for that game. But we might as well. We got a few minutes left. We talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, unfortunately, opened up the weekend with a loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. They couldn't. They didn't have an answer for Giannis, and nobody really does. Jared Allen ended up hurting himself because he wasn't playing yesterday and he was taken out of the game on Saturday. He had an awkward fall and he fell down on his hip. So I have to get how long he's going to be out because I don't know for sure. Hopefully not long. But, he was doing a comparable job when he was in. But once he got out, Evan Mobley is just too skinny to be able to check. Giannis or whatever. So it's not going to happen. So they lost that game on the road. So they already played 2 games in Milwaukee already. I don't know who did the NBA schedule. So I think Milwaukee comes to Cleveland in January. So, hopefully that'll be a different tale. But last night they had another road game and they were able to beat the Detroit Pistons, who was giving the Cleveland Cavaliers everything that they could handle. Because remember, at the start of the season, they blew them out. And that was without Darius Garland and without Donovan Mitchell, and they blew them out. So last night, Detroit wasn't playing around and led pretty much the whole game until the very end when the Cavs were able to come back. So what are your thoughts about, Detroit, playing so hard and the Cleveland Cavaliers were able to come back and beat them?
Yeah, looking earlier in the season, like you said, being able to blow them out without both of our, top 2 players, I thought this game would be easy, but it definitely wasn't. Detroit was staying until the final minute, and they really had to fight to win this game. They were without Jared Allen and Karras, so, that also, may have played an effect. But Karras will be back tonight, they said. Jared Allen will not be. I think he's just day-to-day right now with that hip injury, but Siakam will also be back tonight for Toronto. I think he will be on a minute restriction, though, and they'll also be getting Scotty Barnes back.
Yeah, I was just trying to look to see if there was any injury updates on Jared Allen, and it just says that he's out. So, they play Toronto tonight. So this was the team that injured Darius Garland. But I just checked the time, and it's 6:59. So that means that we have to go. But Brandy, I want to thank you so much for being part of the show today. And for Rachel Hill and Brandy Fairfax, you've been listening to her in the Huddle. And this is 95.9 FM, and we are out of here.
To spread peace, love, and light to the world through your local and your online.
Girl, I didn't even realize what time it was.
Keep on.
I know, it flew by.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Hey, do you know what we can start doing Tuesdays?
Yeah, I can start.
Okay, tomorrow, or you want to start next week?
We can do next week.
Okay, all right then. I'll talk to you a little bit later.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Matter of fact, you're gonna have to turn your volume down.